My world ended not with my husband's death, but with the letter I found in his desk a month after the funeral. For 6 years, I believed I was his beloved second wife, his rock, his sanctuary. I was 44 when I married David, a kind-eyed architect who had been through his own share of heartbreak. He was 47, a widower with a 7-year-old son, Liam. His first wife, Isabella, had died in a car accident years before, a tragedy that left him and his son shrouded in a grief I was desperate to help them heal from. From the moment I met Liam, I knew it would be a challenge. He was a quiet, withdrawn child, his eyes holding a sadness that seemed too vast for his small frame. He didn't scream or shout. His hostility was a silent, impenetrable wall. He would flinch if I tried to hug him, and would only eat the specific meals his father prepared. David assured me it was just grief, that Liam needed time. I poured all my love and patience into that little boy. I read him stories at night, even when he turned his back to me. I learned to make his favorite peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, cut into perfect triangles the way his mother used to. I attended every school play, beaming with a pride I hoped would eventually feel reciprocated. As the years passed, the wall didn't crumble, it just became more sophisticated. When he entered his teenage years, the silent treatment evolved into cold, calculated remarks. "That's not how Mom did it," he'd say if I decorated the Christmas tree. Or, "My mom's perfume smelled better than yours." He once told his father that I'd thrown away a faded, crumpled drawing he'd made for his mother, a blatant lie designed to make me look cruel. David, ever the peacemaker, always took my side, gently chastising Liam and asking him to apologize. The apologies were always muttered, insincere, and followed by a look of pure triumph in his eyes, as if he were testing how much I could take. The most dramatic incident happened when David bought us a new house, a beautiful Victorian home in a quiet Boston suburb. He said it was a fresh start for all of us, a place without the ghosts of his past life. The day we moved in, Liam, then 13, disappeared. We searched for hours in a panic, eventually finding him at his old home, sitting on the curb in the rain, sobbing. He looked at me and said, "You can't make me leave her. This is where she lived. You're erasing her." It shattered me. I never wanted to erase Isabella. I just wanted a place in their lives. After that, David insisted on family therapy. It helped marginally. Liam learned to voice his anger in words rather than actions, but the words were still sharp and aimed directly at my heart. Then 2 years ago, David was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. It was aggressive and merciless. The strong, vibrant man I loved withered before my eyes. I became his full-time caregiver. I quit my job as a graphic designer to manage his medications, his doctor's appointments, the slow, heartbreaking descent into hospice care at home. Liam was 15, old enough to understand the gravity, but young enough to be utterly terrified. His anger found a new target, me. He would hover in the doorway of David's room, his eyes accusing. "Are you sure you gave him the right dose?" he'd ask, his voice trembling. If his real wife were here, she'd know what to do. The most painful was when he screamed at me during a particularly bad night. "You're stressing him out. You're making him worse. Just leave him alone." I absorbed it all, telling myself it was the grief of a boy losing his father. I was grieving too, watching the love of my life slip away. David, even in his morphine-induced haze, would squeeze my hand and whisper, "My Anna. I love you, my Anna." Those moments were my anchor. He died peacefully in his sleep one autumn morning. The silence he left behind was deafening. Liam's grief was a torrential storm directed solely at me. He blamed me for everything, from the cancer itself to the color of the funeral flowers. She would have known he hated lilies. He spat at me at the reception after the service. He told me on more than one occasion that the world was unfair for taking his father and leaving me behind. We lived in the same house like ghosts, passing in the hallways with barely a grunt of acknowledgement. I was drowning in my own sorrow, trying to manage the estate, the bills, the crushing loneliness, all while being constantly reminded by his son that I was an unwanted intruder in my own life. A few weeks ago, I finally gathered the strength to start sorting through David's home office. Liam refused to help, stating it was too painful. As I was cleaning out the bottom drawer of his large oak desk, the one that always stuck, I found a small locked metal box. I'd never seen it before. With a sinking feeling, I remembered a tiny key I'd found taped to the back of David's watch. My hands shook as I fitted the key into the lock. Inside, there were no stocks or bonds, just a few old photographs of Isabella and a single, sealed envelope with Liam's name on it, written in David's unmistakable handwriting. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was a letter for his son. I shouldn't read it. But the sight of his writing, the secretiveness of the box, a cold dread crept up my spine. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, and this letter held the truth about whether I would fall or not. With trembling fingers, I broke the seal. The words on the page did not just break my heart. They annihilated my entire reality. David wrote to Liam that marrying me was the biggest mistake of his life. He said that he had never stopped loving Isabella, that she was his one true soulmate, and that he had only married me because he was lonely and desperate for a mother for Liam. He wrote that I was a convenient port in a storm, a stable, financially secure woman who could provide a comfortable home, and a maternal figure he thought Liam needed. He confessed that he found my attempts to replace Isabella endearing at first, then increasingly irritating. The line that made me physically sick was, "In my weakest moments, I close my eyes and pretend it's her, not Anna, holding my hand. It's the only way I can get through it." He had been pretending for 6 years. Through our wedding, our vacations, our quiet nights by the fire, our intimate moments. It was all a performance. The final paragraph was a directive to his son. He advised Liam to be strategic. He wrote, "Anna is a good woman, and she loves you in her own way. She has the resources to give you a fantastic start in life. Stay with her, be civil, until you finish college. Let her pay for your education. It's the least she can do for taking your mother's place." I slid down the side of the desk onto the floor, the letter fluttering from my numb fingers. The sobs that racked my body were soundless, dry heaves of pure agony. My marriage was a charity case. My love was a transaction. I was not a wife. I was a nanny and a banker, a stand-in for a dead woman. The man I had nursed, bathed, and loved until his last breath had been fantasizing about another woman in his final moments. The "I love yous" were a script. I felt like the world's biggest fool. I haven't confronted Liam. The letter was sealed, so he doesn't know it exists. He's 17 now, a brooding, handsome boy with his father's eyes and his mother's defiant tilt of the chin. He's applying to colleges, all of them expensive, private institutions on the East Coast. The unspoken assumption has always been that I would pay. Why wouldn't I? I was the doting stepmother, the woman with a healthy savings account and a paid-off house. Now the idea of writing those tuition checks makes me feel physically ill. Would I be the monster if I told him, on his 18th birthday, that he's on his own? Thank you for the outpouring of support. It's been a difficult few weeks, and reading your perspectives, both sympathetic and challenging, has given me a lot to think about. To answer the most common question, no, I had no idea. I was completely blindsided. David was a loving, attentive husband. He was affectionate, remembered anniversaries, wrote me love notes, and supported my career. If it was an act, it was a masterpiece of deception. I knew he loved Isabella, of course. He spoke of her with a fond sadness, but he always framed it as a closed chapter. He told me I had brought light back into his life, and I, like a fool, believed him. There were tiny, fleeting moments I brushed aside. Once, on Isabella's birthday, I found him in the garden, staring at a particular rosebush she had planted. He had tears in his eyes. When I approached, he hugged me tightly and said, "I'm just so grateful I have you now." I thought it was a moment of healing, of letting go. Now I see it was a moment of comparison and regret. Another time, he had a high fever and called me Bella. He apologized profusely, blaming the illness. I forgave him instantly. I see now that I was building my happiness on a foundation of sand, ignoring all the cracks. As for reading the letter, I know it was a violation of Liam's privacy. I can't change that. In that moment, a primal instinct told me that the contents of that box held the truth about my life, and I was right. The pain of knowing is excruciating, but the pain of living a lie would have been worse. I have not spoken to Liam about the letter. The atmosphere at home is glacial. We communicate through terse notes on the fridge or brief, necessary texts. He has asked me, with a strained politeness that didn't mask his entitlement, to complete the financial aid forms for college. He mentioned that with my assets, he likely won't qualify for much help. The expectation that I will drain my savings for him is palpable. Legally, I am his guardian until he turns 18. David's will named me as such. I am providing him with food, shelter, and the necessities, but my heart is no longer in it. Every grocery bill feels like being played for a sucker. The love I once felt for him has curdled into a bitter mixture of resentment and pity. He is a boy who lost his mother, but he is also the living, breathing reminder of my husband's profound betrayal. I am trapped in this house with him for a few more months, playing the part of the benevolent stepmother in a play whose script I only just discovered was a farce. I am cycling through stages of grief I didn't know existed. I'm grieving for David, for the man I thought he was. I'm grieving for the future I thought we had. And I'm grappling with a searing rage that makes me want to scream. I haven't made any final decisions about college, but the temptation to cut him off completely is powerful. I need to protect myself. The dam has broken. The tension that had been simmering for weeks finally erupted into a full-blown catastrophe. Liam, now deep in the college application process, sat down with me at the kitchen table 2 days ago. He had a printout of the cost of attendance for his top-choice university, a prestigious and exorbitantly expensive college in New York. "We need to talk about this," he said, sliding the paper toward me. His tone was not a request, it was a demand. I took a deep breath, my own heart pounding. "Liam, that school costs more than my annual salary. We need to have a realistic discussion about what's feasible. Your father didn't." He cut me off, his eyes flashing. "Don't talk about my father. You know we can afford it. You have the money from your parents' inheritance. You're just being cheap because you don't want me to be happy. You want to keep me here, trapped with you." The accusation was so unfair, so venomous, that it took my breath away. That is not true. I have never tried to trap you. But I never agreed to single-handedly fund a private university education. Money doesn't grow on trees. "Stop lying," he shouted, slamming his hand on the table. "I've seen the paperwork. This house is paid off. You have investments. You're my guardian. This is your responsibility. Your father left no college fund, Liam." I shot back, my composure cracking. My responsibility, legally, ends when you turn 18. And given how you've treated me, why on earth would I want to sacrifice my financial security for you?" His face contorted with pure hatred. "So that's it. You hate me so much you're going to ruin my future? My dad would be disgusted with you." That was the final straw. The mention of David, his disgust, from the mouth of the son he had instructed to use me, it unleashed something in me. "Your father," I said, my voice dangerously low. "Your father is the one who ruined this. He wrote you a letter, didn't he? The one he hid in the metal box. The one where he told you he never loved me, and that you should stick it out with me for my money." The color drained from Liam's face. For a second, there was only stunned silence. Then a terrifying explosion. "You read my letter?" he whispered, his voice trembling with a rage I had never witnessed. "You vile snooping witch. You had no right. That was private. That was from my dad to me." He stood up so violently his chair screeched back and fell over. "You went looking for a reason. You wanted to punish me. You pretended you would help me, and now you're using this as your excuse to back out. I never promised you anything," I yelled, standing my ground. "And I didn't need to go looking for a reason. The reason was in the letter. Your father saw me as a wallet, and you clearly do too." With a guttural scream, he swept his arm across the kitchen counter, sending a ceramic fruit bowl and a set of canisters crashing to the floor. Ceramics shattered, and fruit rolled across the tiles. I stumbled back, genuinely frightened by the raw violence of his actions. "You ruined everything," he shrieked, tears of rage streaming down his face. "If you had just died instead of my mom, none of this would have happened. My dad would be alive and happy, and we'd have the money. We wouldn't need you." The words were a physical blow. They confirmed everything the letter had implied. In his mind, and in his father's, my value was purely monetary, and my existence was an inconvenience. "Get out of my sight," I said, my voice shaking but firm. "Go to your room. Now." He glared at me, his chest heaving, then let out another wordless scream of fury before storming out of the kitchen and pounding up the stairs. His bedroom door slammed so hard the pictures on the wall rattled. I stood amidst the wreckage, my whole body trembling. I wasn't just crying. I was hyperventilating. The sheer, unadulterated hatred in his eyes, the destruction, the cruel wish for my death. It was the point of no return. That night, I barricaded my bedroom door with a chair. It felt melodramatic, but I no longer felt safe in my own home. The next morning, I found him in the kitchen, silently eating cereal. The mess was still on the floor. "Listen to me," I said, my voice cold and flat. "I will provide you with food and shelter until the day you turn 18. After that, you are on your own. I will not be paying for your college, your books, your rent, or anything else. Do not ask me again." He didn't look at me. He just swallowed a spoonful of cereal and said, "Fine. I don't want your dirty money anyway." The silence that has descended since is absolute and final. There is no relationship left to salvage. I am now focused on survival and separation. This is the end of this painful chapter. The confrontation was the catalyst I needed to take definitive action to reclaim my life and my safety. My first step was security. The day after the fight, I had a security system installed throughout the house, with cameras covering the main living areas and all entrances. I told Liam it was for general safety, but we both knew the truth. He has been avoiding the cameras, skulking around the edges of the rooms. It has, however, prevented any further violent outbursts. The house has been unnervingly quiet. Next, I reached out to my older brother, Michael. I had been too ashamed to tell him the full extent of the situation, But I confessed everything. He was livid. He and his wife immediately drove down from Vermont and have been staying with me for the past week. Their presence has been a shield. Liam now treats the house like a library, moving silently from his room to the front door and back again. The tension is still thick, but it's no longer volatile. It's a Cold War, and we're just waiting for the armistice of his 18th birthday. I also consulted a lawyer. My will, which previously left everything to David and, contingently, to Liam, has been completely rewritten. My estate will now go to my brother and his children. It was a sobering but necessary act of severance. The lawyer also confirmed that my obligations as a guardian are minimal and end at 18. He advised me to document everything, which I have, and assured me that the camera footage would be sufficient evidence for a restraining order if Liam's behavior escalated after he moved out. Financially, I've severed all remaining ties. I closed old joint accounts, changed passwords, and ensured Liam has no access to any of my financial documents or assets. I've started the process of packing up David's things. It's painful, but it feels like cleansing a wound. The current status is a waiting game. Liam's 18th birthday is in 2 months. He has secured a job at a local grocery store and has told me, through my brother, that he plans to move into a shared apartment with friends from school and attend the local community college. I feel a pang of something, sadness perhaps, or guilt, but it is quickly extinguished by the memory of his shattered bowl and his shattered words. He made his choice, and his father made his long before that. I have arranged for a locksmith to come on the morning after his birthday. Whatever belongings he leaves behind will be boxed and stored for 30 days. If he doesn't claim them, they will be donated. I need a clean, absolute break. Emotionally, I am exhausted but resolute. The love I had for David has been complicated by a profound sense of betrayal, but I am slowly untangling the man I loved from the man he actually was. I have started seeing a therapist, which has been invaluable in processing the grief and the anger. I'm focusing on my work, my family, and rebuilding a sense of self that isn't defined by being someone's wife or stepmother. This experience has been a brutal lesson in the limits of love and the importance of self-preservation. I gave everything to a family that saw me as a utility. Now I am taking it all back. I don't know if Liam will ever understand the depth of his father's deception or his own role in this tragedy. I hope for his sake that he finds peace, but I will not be the one to fund his journey toward it. My story ends not with a reconciliation, but with a closed door. And for the first time in a long time, the silence on my side of it feels like peace.